So hello everybody. So I decided to do a welcome to kindergarten slideshow and just kind of give you an insight as to what kindergarten life is like for both the students and the parents. So we'll get started with our slideshow and just a little bit about me real quick. So I'm a Disney fanatic, as you can tell. Um, I have been teaching for 14 years. I've been in kindergarten for 13 years. I am married and have two kids, Bryce and Brody, who are over in the top right hand corner there. That was Bryce's eighth grade night for basketball. We have a golden doodle named Lucy and an outside cat named Lily Cat. And to the left of the screen, you will see me with my best friend, and her name is Belle. You may have known her from the movie Beauty and the Beast. So every time we go to Disney, I make it a point to make sure that I go meet Belle and get my picture with her because she is my favorite princess. So you can see just a little about me and my Meet the Teacher. I think that these were posted, and I'll also be giving you a copy of these when you come for open house. In the kind of bottom of the left-hand corner, you'll see CNBC Youth. So myself and my husband and our friend Shanna, we are the youth leaders of my church. And then beside of that photo is me with my favorite human being that has ever lived in the whole entire world. That's me and my precious little grandmother. She is passed now and is with the Lord, but I know that I just have another guardian angel watching over me. So I had to include her in there. That's us on Main Street at Disney. So we'll get into looking at a day in the life of a kindergartner. So this is just kind of a rough draft of our daily schedule. Pretty much try to stick to this as close as we can with the time frame for everything. You will see that we have a nonstop day from the time that school starts officially at 7:45 until we dismiss at 2:25. So we start our morning out after we get back from breakfast with whole group activities on the carpet. Then we break out into centers. You'll notice on this schedule that we have 3 centers before lunch. Now, if we're having an awesome day and we get through our whole group stuff in a very, very good, timely manner, everybody's paying attention, everybody seems to be getting what we're doing. Sometimes, miraculously, we get all 4 centers done before lunch. So when that happens, it is amazing. But this is just kind of an outline of what we do, and then I'll talk about it as we go through our slides. So the first thing that happens, the doors open at 7:30. Your student will come into our building through this bottom door down here beside of the kindergarten playground. And our classroom is the very first door that you come to on the left. So if you come through the doors, turn left, our room is the first room on the left. So when students arrive, they'll come in the room. We ask that they come and enter the room quietly. Normally, we have our lights turned out, and I'll be playing some sort of calming music, or sometimes I'll have some cartoons on a low volume playing on the smart board, and they'll come in, and if they have anything that they've brought for breakfast or lunch or a water bottle, they'll drop it off first. We have a little bench and an extra desk that sits to their left as they come in the room, and they'll drop that stuff off there first. Then they'll go to their lockers and put up their jackets and their backpacks, and then they'll go find their morning seat. The door out here closes right at 7:45, and that is when our day officially begins. So at 7:45, we will stand up and we recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag every single morning before we line up for breakfast. That's just something that I feel is important that our students learn, and I think that it's just a good way to get everybody on the same page and started. So we do that every morning. We have breakfast from 7:50 to 8:15. Even if your child has eaten breakfast at home or if they bring something with them, they will still go through that line. They don't have to eat what's on their tray. If they brought something, they can just push their tray forward and eat what they've brought. But everybody does have to go through and get a tray at breakfast. When breakfast is over, we do a whole group restroom break in what we call the big restroom, which is in the 5th and 6th grade hallway. And usually Miss Tina will stand and kind of monitor the girls' restroom, and I will monitor the boys' restroom. And we just ask that when the kids are there during restroom break that they're having good hallway manners, standing quietly out in the hallway, waiting their turn, that when they're in the restroom, that they go in there and they do their business, they're clean about it, they flush, wash their hands, and come out in a timely manner. It's not a place to go in and play. It's a place to go in, do what you need to do, and get out. We're looking at probably having 20 students in our room, so we really need to make restroom break quick so we can get back down to the room and start our work. Also with restroom, there are probably about 4 stalls in the girls' restroom, 3 stalls, 2 urinals in the boys' restroom. So we ask that when they go in there that they're able to tend to all of their things that they need to do independently. We can help button or snap pants if needed. I don't prefer to help someone with a zipper, so they will need to work on being able to do that kind of stuff themselves. So once we get back to the room, off to work we go. So after restroom break, we come back to the room, and this is when we officially begin our learning. So they're going to return any water bottles, breakfast bags back to that bench, and then they're going to go to their morning seat and do what we call look like Leo. So if you look in the top right-hand corner of the slide, you'll see a lion sitting at a desk. This is Leo, the lion. And this is kind of expectation for when we're just sitting at a table. We're not really working. We're not doing anything. We're just kind of waiting for everybody to get in and settled. And we tell them to look like Leo, which is bottom in your seat, chair scooted up to your table, legs under your table, feet on the floor if they reach, arms in your own space, sitting with a closed, quiet mouth, listening ears. Okay. So once everybody comes in and they're settled, we will call one table at a time to come up to the carpet. Everybody will have an assigned seat or a square on the carpet. When they come to the carpet, they have 2 choices of how they may sit on the carpet. You'll see kind of at the top of our slide, we have crisscross Mickey, and then we have prim and proper like mermaid. And when they're sitting like that, their ears are listening, their eyes are focused, they're sitting still, they're sitting quietly, and then that tells us when they're sitting, they're ready to learn. So they should always be ready to learn when on the carpet, keeping their bottom down and keeping their hands, feet, legs all to themselves. So when everybody joins us on the carpet, we begin our daily calendar activities. This usually takes about 15 minutes. We talk about the month that we're currently in. We may talk about all 12 months, not daily, but we may do it from time to time. We talk about the days of the week, what the current day is, how many days we're at in the month. We'd have patterns that are on our calendar, on our cards that we talk about, and we talk about the year. After that, then we move over to our place value chart and we talk about how many days we've been in school. We start out talking about the ones place. Once we reach 10 straws there, then we'll join them together. They move to the tens place. So we do talk about ones place, tens place, and eventually the hundreds place while counting days of school. After calendar, everyone then will turn on the carpet, staying in their spot toward our smartboard, and this is when we begin our skills lesson. And sometimes skills lessons can last up to an hour. So especially at the beginning of the year when we're transitioning between that calendar time and skills, we may do a little brain break. We may do some movement on the carpet just until they build up endurance to sit and listen and pay attention that long, because it is a long time. So I just want to talk a little bit about our skills that we do. This is part of our CKLA Amplify reading curriculum, and it's made up of 2 strands, skills and knowledge. So the skills strand provides comprehensive instruction in foundational reading skills such as phonological awareness, phonics, and word recognition, language skills, including conventions of English, spelling, grammar, reading comprehension, and writing instruction. So basically, these are the skills that your child will need in order to be a reader and a writer. And phonological awareness is pretty much the skill that allows you to recognize words, syllables, onsets, rhymes without really looking at written text. In the beginning, we do a lot of fine motor skills, and we do a lot of just listening and being able to identify different sounds by just listening. And we do a lot during skills of just verbal learning, where I may have to say sounds and have them repeat them, or I may say sounds and they're listening for certain things. Phonics is correlating spoken sounds, phonemes with their written letters or groups of letters, which are graphemes. And this is when your child will learn how to sound out or decode unfamiliar words by blending individual sounds together. We have 21 consonant sounds that we learn. We have 5 vowel sounds, 6 digraph sounds, and then we also talk about consonant clusters, and we have 14 double consonant sounds that they will learn. And then we have word recognition, and that's the ability to instantly and correctly read written words. So we start out by learning some sounds, and then they will blend those specific sounds before we ever even give those sounds a letter name. They're sounds for the beginning, okay? And so always at the beginning of the skills lesson, I will tell them what our goals are for that lesson. And usually I will post these on Dojo, so you will also be able to see at home what we're doing daily in our skills lessons. If you look over to the right side of your slide, we have a little story called The Chick. And this is actually a story that the kids should be fluently reading by the time we get to the end of Skills 8. This is actually an assessment that we do with them, and we have them read this, and then they have to answer 3 questions about this text. So you can kind of see by the end of Skills 8 what is going to be expected of your child as far as reading is concerned. It's a lot. Kindergarten is a lot. I think sometimes people don't realize what all these kids are responsible for learning. It is a lot. So after we do skills, then we start our daily center rotations. And the goal of each day is to get through 4 small group rotations, which we call centers. So students will be in groups of 5. That's if we have 20 kids. They will rotate through 4 center tables in our room, and each center rotation lasts 15 minutes. 2 of those centers are teacher-led, and 2 of those are independent workstations. So the teacher-led centers consist of handwriting, fine motor skills, practicing reading and phonics practice, independent centers. Okay, and then independent centers consist of knowledge practice, math practice, fine motor practice, and skills practice. So I do a teacher-led center. Miss Tina will do a teacher-led center. And then during that time, we have 2 tables of students that are going to be working independently. And they will learn pretty quick what our expectations are of them while they're working independently at those centers. They have to stay in their seat. We will always give them work that they should be able to do by themselves. It's either practicing a skill that we've done that morning, or skills that we've previously done, or something dealing with knowledge that we did the day before. So they should be pretty well equipped to do those independent centers by themselves. So after we do centers, the next thing on our agenda for the day is lunch. You'll notice that our lunchtime, this was last year's lunchtime. I'm not for sure if it will be the same amount of time this year, but it's 10:50 to 11:15. So lunch works the same as breakfast. All students will go through the lunch line and get a tray. Again, they may have to put something on your child's tray they didn't want or ask for. They don't have to eat it, but the cafeteria has to put a certain amount of different food groups on a tray. They may pack their lunch box. As we exit our room to go to lunch, they can just grab that lunch box or water bottle from the bench, and they have to be responsible for packing it to and from the lunchroom. And this includes water bottles if they're also bringing those. So we try to work with them that first 3 days, especially on if they're holding that lunch box, to put their arm through the little loop so that they can carry their tray with 2 hands out into the dining area to our table. And Miss Tina will be in there with them to assist them at lunch. She does help them with opening and cleaning up. However, we would really like for them to be as independent as possible during this time, while they're maintaining their cafeteria expectations. So if they can open their own milk, that's great. If they have a lunch box and they can open all the little containers in their lunch box, and when Miss Tina says it's time to clean up, they're doing that independently and they're able to close everything and put it back into their lunch boxes and zip them up by themselves, independent. That's fantastic. We had 20 students last year in our classroom. 16 of those students brought lunch boxes. So, the more that they can do independently by themselves, the better it is overall, and it really helps Miss Tina out. And in the beginning, we will collect their trays and dump those trays for them and take them to the wash station. However, towards the end of the year, we're expecting them to gather all their trash on their tray, clean up all their lunchbox materials by themselves, carry that tray and dump it independently, but we will work with them on that throughout the year. So after that, we do another whole group restroom break at the same big restroom. And after that restroom break, we make our way back to our room. They're going to put their lunch boxes back on the bench, and then it's time for math. So as people are coming in and getting settled in for math, we'll again tell them to look like Leo. And once everybody is settled in, we will start math. Math is also done whole group. So during this time, students will remain at their morning seat and follow along with me on the board. They'll have a worksheet. I'll have that same worksheet up on the board, and we will go through our daily lesson together. So there may be times that they are using manipulatives such as counters, Unifix cubes to help them with our lesson, crayons, but those are meant to be used for the purpose of the lesson. If they're building things with their Unifix cubes or counters or crayons become distraction, then they will get taken for the duration of that math lesson, and they won't have anything, they won't have manipulatives left on their table to help them that day. So they really have to make sure that they're only using their materials for the purpose of doing their math. We usually do have nightly homework for math, so just kind of be on the lookout for that on Class Dojo. I will always post a picture of what their homework is, and we're going to talk more about homework in just a little bit. Math lessons can last up to about 45 minutes. Again, that's just depending on how well everybody's paying attention and if I feel like that they're really doing a good job retaining what we're doing that day. And math in kindergarten is a lot of counting, number sense, comparing numbers, addition, subtraction, problem solving. So those are the types of things that they'll be doing during that math time. Okay, so after we do math and it is complete, we have the kids come up again one table at a time, and they're going to put their math papers in their mailboxes, and then they'll go back to the carpet on their assigned square. And again, they'll have the choice of looking like Mickey or Mermaid on the carpet. And once everybody's joined us on the rug, they're going to be facing the smartboard at this time, and we're going to get into the knowledge strand of our reading curriculum. You'll notice that I have the knowledge. There are 12 knowledge domains that we're going to cover. Hopefully, we'll get through all 12. This will be our third year having this reading curriculum, and so far, the farthest that I've ever gotten in the reading curriculum is domain 10. Just because the first year, it was all new and we didn't get started until late. Last year, we had a lot of snow. So this year, I really hope that we are able to get through all 12 domains. Same thing with skills. So during knowledge, I will start out our lesson by giving them the goals for the day's lesson and the things that they're going to learn that day. We do have vocabulary words that the students will be responsible for learning during knowledge. So you'll have information about that each time that we start a new knowledge unit. I will send home a little parent note that kind of gives some of those vocabulary words. I usually post those daily also on Dojo so that you'll know the vocabulary words we've gone over, because they will be tested over those vocabulary words at the end of the unit when we do our end of unit assessment. So knowledge is supposed to take an hour also. Sometimes it will take 30 minutes, sometimes 45 minutes. Usually it doesn't take the full hour. There are some parts of it that I kind of cut out sometimes. It just depends on how well everyone's listening, on how much actually that we do. So we're almost to the end of our day. So after knowledge, we have our specials class. So special class is a time when kids leave our classroom and they will go a lot of times to computer lab with Miss Sherman, or they will go visit the library with Mr. Sumter, and they're there for 30 minutes. So our special class time is 1 to 1:30. This time serves as my planning time, so I'm not with them. I walk them to that class and we'll go pick them back up from that class, but I do not stay with them during that time. So Miss Sherman in computer lab, normally she'll read them a story and then she'll put them on the computers and they'll do some work on the computers, fun stuff, mostly like little learning games and things like that. Mr. Sumter reads to them most every time that they go to library. Sometimes they have a video that they watch when he's finished with the story, or they'll have a coloring sheet or some sort of activity to do after he's finished reading. So if the day has gone fabulous and we have finished all 4 centers before lunch, when they come back to the room after their special class, we usually go outside for recess, of course, weather permitting. Sometimes if the weather is not good, we will do indoor recess, so it all depends on the weather. If we have not finished all 4 centers and they come back from specials classes, normally I will try to get that 4th and final center in and then do recess right after that. So after that time, the end of the day is snack time. And snack is just a snack, okay? A small portion of food. We do not need a smorgasbord packed in snack bags. I'm sorry. It is literally can be like 2 foods, 2 drinks if your child is really thirsty. I do not prefer carbonated beverages because they get shaken in transition from lockers to back to the table. They will spew and spill. So I do not prefer carbonated beverages. However, if you send that, I'm not going to not let your child drink it. That's your preference, what you send with them. I do not prefer carbonated, but it's okay if you send it. Water bottles are good. Juice pouches are good. Something with a screw top lid so that when they're not drinking it, they can put the lid back on it. And if it gets knocked off the table, it's not spilling. So when their routine for snack is they are going to, at the end of the day, when we come back in from recess, we let them get their backpacks from their lockers. They will come retrieve their mail from their mailboxes, go back to their seat, and then they will get their snack out. So then after snack, it is time for dismissal. So we've survived a day. We get to go home. And students are labeled for dismissal as either a buster or a walker. However, like once after school programming starts, we'll have kids that will stay after school for Boys and Girls Club, so that's fine. So we will line walkers up first in the hallway outside of our classroom, and they will be led up to the gym by another staff member. Once inside the gym, they're going to remain seated on the bottom bleacher until their name is called to line up according to the pickup line. So if students are at the front of the line, they're going to be escorted out in small groups to load cars. But if you're more towards the end of the pickup line, you'll probably drive through and pick your child up at one of the stations that we have labeled. So there are plenty of teachers in the gym and in the hallways that help with dismissal. Usually I'm in there 1 day a week. So, but I will go up the first 3 or 4 days until kids kind of get used to the process and be up there with them and help, because I do know that it's brand new for kindergarten. So parents, if this is your first time with pickup, you will just get in the line outside in your car. You don't get out of your car, and we will either bring your child directly to you or you will drive through and pick them up from one of our stops. If they are a bus rider, we line them up in the hallway after the walkers are kind of moving on through the hallway, and then I will walk our bussers out to load on the buses, and we'll line them up in the order of how the buses are. We go out our kindergarten door down here where your kids will come into the building, and so we actually put our kindergarten students in first grade on starting at the back of the bus line, working our way to the front. So we make sure that your child gets on the correct bus. Okay, so I want to talk next a little bit about Class Dojo. And if your child came to kinder camp, then you got a little bit of experience with Class Dojo. In my opinion, it's the greatest thing that's ever been invented for teachers. Number one, it is free. It will prompt you to try to pay for Class Dojo. You do not need to pay for Class Dojo. It is 100% free. So it is super, super important that you download the app or that you get on some sort of device and get on the Class Dojo website. Your child will be on there. It is a way of me to track attendance through Class Dojo. I do behavior logging on Class Dojo and communicate with you through Class Dojo. Anything that goes on in our room will be put on Class Dojo. It's kind of like it's our own like social media page or site. And I do post pictures on Class Dojo. Now, the thing about pictures, if your child, if you sign the paperwork giving permission for the school to take pictures or videos of your child, I will post those on Class Dojo. I mean, you can save the pictures that we post on there, but I ask that you don't repost those on Facebook or things like that unless it is just a single photo of your child. Sometimes we have parents who don't mind for their kids to be posted on Class Dojo because it's just for our parents and our students to see, but they don't want their students shared on any other form of social media. So with that being said, if it is just your child and you want to repost it on whatever social media platform you're using, that's fine, but just try not to do if it's like multiple students in a photo. This will be my first way of communicating with you. So if I need to message you quickly about something or ask you a question, I will do that through private chatting. That is just for me and you to see. If it's meant for everyone to see, I will put it in class story. So, and then we also have school-wide announcements on there as well. There's a calendar on there that you'll get to see school events taking place, events in our classroom that are coming up, and things like that. So again, it is free. Please make sure you download it. Please make sure you get used to using it because you will honestly feel like you are 100% in the room with us almost daily if you get on there and get used to checking it because we post pictures almost every day. You can get on there and see if your child has received bukus of good points for doing things that they're supposed to do, or if they're not being very good listeners, they will lose dojo points, and you definitely need to be made aware of that as well. So just make sure that you get on there and check that out. So the next thing is our class rules. So these are the rules on the right side that you will see that we have 6 main rules in our room, and these are posted at the front of our room. I go over these rules thoroughly for the first probably 2 weeks of school. They stay posted, and sometimes you have to go back and refer to them just as a reminder if some people are forgetting these things. So rule number 1 is listen to the speaker. So anytime that we have someone in our room, whether it's me speaking and teaching, or it's Miss Tina speaking and teaching, or a student who is a speaker, or a special guest, we expect for everyone in the room to sit quietly, look at that person, listen to what they're saying. Number 2 is follow directions quickly. If we say it's time to clean up or it's time to come in from the playground, it doesn't mean keep playing, go down the slide one more time. It means stop what you're doing and follow that direction quickly. Rule number 3 is raise your hand for permission to leave your seat. So we don't let kids just get up and run around the room or get up and go to their locker or get up and go to the bathroom. They always have to raise their hand first for permission so that we know where they are and what their purpose is on the floor. Rule number 4, raise your hand for permission to speak. Rule number 5 is make smart choices, and this is a big one that we talk about daily in our room. If you're doing something and Miss Tina and I see you doing that, is it going to make us happy or are we going to be sad? And if we're going to be sad, then probably shouldn't be doing it. or, just always make sure that you're making a smart choice for yourself, for your safety, and for the safety of your classmates. And rule number 6 says keep your dear teachers happy. If they're following rules 1 through 5, we're going to be happy. And if we're happy, they're going to be happy. We really want kids to be respectful in our classroom, treat each other with kindness, be good listeners, be responsible, and keeping themselves and others safe. We do have hallway manners and expectations that the kids should follow while they're in the hallway. We ask that they are staying facing forward, that their hands are safe, their mouths are closed and quiet. We have arrows in our hallway, and I usually, anytime we stop in the hallway, tell them to look down and make sure their feet are on their own arrow. This prevents them from running into each other in the back. It just helps everybody keep their space. Restroom expectations, we kind of talked about that a little bit earlier on. Go in there, do your business, be clean about it, wash your hands, and then get out. That's all you're going in the restroom for. Cafeteria expectations, they need to just stay in their seat, eat if they're going to eat. If they're done, just kind of push their tray forward. Don't play in your food. Don't throw your food. Keep your hands on your own belongings and your own food. Don't reach over and try to take food from someone else. And we really don't like for the kids to share food with one another, especially if they brought it from home. Kids have allergies. And so we just really need to make sure that we're eating our own food. Taking care of classroom materials. That is a thing that we talk about, how the things that are in our room are being borrowed. The students are borrowing these items. And when you borrow an item, then you need to return it in the same condition that it was in when you received it. So making sure that they're not peeling paper off of crayons, or when we're using dry erase markers, like stabbing them down and like breaking the tip of the dry erase markers, just that they are using really good manners with our classroom materials. We do a quiet signal if the phone rings or our doorbell rings. We just ask kids to raise a hand and point to the ceiling, and that's just saying, hey, the phone's ringing, somebody's at the door, quiet signal. And then once I answer the phone or open the door, they can put that quiet signal down. But it's just sometimes I don't hear somebody knocking at the door, and the students will. So if like all the kids at one table hear that knock on the door and they're giving quiet signal, then I'm going to know that there was a knock at the door. If we're watching something on the board, or air or heat is on, it's loud in the room. If I'm teaching or we're doing an activity, sometimes I don't hear the knock, and they may hear it, so they can put that quiet signal up. We have procedures in our room for cleaning up, for centers during rotation time, for passing out pencils, putting pencils away, and they'll learn all those procedures the first couple weeks of school. We really, really do so much practicing of our procedures in our room, so they will not be lost. They will know what they're supposed to do. We do have classroom jobs, and this is our job chart over here on the left. It is right by the door, right above the mailboxes in our classroom. And we have line leader, door holder, sanitizer, light monitor, office person, and the caboose. So if you notice on the right side of the slide, I have a little Olaf cup right now. I change it out seasonally, so I'll have a Halloween and a Christmas, just different things. Your child will have their name Velcroed to a popsicle stick. The name tag on their popsicle stick will match the name tag on their locker and their seat. So they get real familiar with what character their name tag is. And we will do line leader alphabetically by first name. So, or all of our jobs, sorry, not just line leader. But say we have someone with an A name, they would be line leader on day 1. And then B would be door holder, a C name, and then we go through. So whoever the door holder is today, then we'll bump up to the line leader position tomorrow. So if you were a line leader today, then you get out of the job rotation. And when it's your turn to get back into the rotation, you start at caboose and you work your way up. So the line leader obviously leads the line. Door holder, anytime that we are going through somewhere and a door needs held, the door holder will hold the door. Sanitizer person gives out sanitizer before snack time. The light monitor is in charge of turning the light off when we leave the room, turning the light on when we come back into the room. The office person will go with Miss Tina sometimes if we have notes that need taken to the office, or they call and say we need to come pick something up from the office. Miss Tina will take the office person with her. And the caboose is at the end of the line, making sure that everybody is in their spot, doing their job. And whenever we're in the hallway, moving from place to place, when we stop ever so often, I'll wait until I see that caboose before we proceed on in the hallway. So the next slide is homework. Do we really have homework in kindergarten? Yes, we do have homework in kindergarten. And actually, our CKLA reading curriculum requires us to have homework as part of our curriculum. So we have take-home sheets that are included in our workbooks. So the way that I do homework is on Monday or the beginning of the week, whenever that falls, I will pull out homework for all of the week. So they will have homework typically Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night. And I'll staple all that homework together. If it is skills homework, it'll be stapled together like in a little packet. And we will send it home in their backpacks. So make sure that you are checking backpacks daily, getting that homework out, reading over everything. And I will also post on Dojo what you're supposed to be doing each day. There are times whenever we have skills all 4 nights. There are times when we might have skills homework Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and nothing on Thursday. So make sure again that you're checking Class Dojo so that you will see what the homework is for that week. Math, we usually do have a math, just like the back side of our little packet that we're doing in the classroom. The back side of that math is usually for homework. And again, I will post about this on Class Dojo. I may send additional homework home if I see that there's something that our kids are struggling with. I might send something extra home for you to do with them at home. We don't have to send any of the papers back that they do for homework. What I prefer that you do is just snap a picture of their homework and send it to me on Class Dojo. They will get 5 Dojo points for each night that they're doing homework that you're sending me a photo. And I should go back to say that Class Dojo, they're earning points daily, and on Fridays, they get to spend those Dojo points at our Dojo store. So they get 5 points just for coming every day. So if they come all 5 days of the week, that's 20 Dojo points. If they have done homework, Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, that's, Dojo points right there as well. So you're looking at 45 Dojo points just for coming to school every day and doing homework every night. So they do get Dojo points just for showing up and doing homework. So make sure that they're coming to school good and that they're doing their homework, and you're helping them get to spend points at Dojo store. So just take a picture of that, send it to me on Class Dojo. I used to do homework folders, but when COVID hit, I kind of stopped doing that. Sometimes we bring unwanted things from home to the school in homework folders, so I don't do homework folders anymore. Just snap a picture and send it to me. Okay, another thing I wanted to talk about were lunch accounts. Your child is receiving breakfast and lunch free of charge daily, okay? So when they go through the line and they get their food, that is free. Sometimes kids will want extra chicken nuggets, or they'll ask for another piece of pizza, or if we have breakfast muffins in the morning, they'll want an extra muffin or an extra bowl of cereal or things like that. Some things they can purchase additional items of, but they have to have money in their lunch account. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do that. You can send money to school, cash money, and I will give it to Miss Emma. She is who will be doing our register for breakfast and lunch, and she will add it in and put it on the computer and put that they have $20 in their lunch account. If their money runs out, I can let you know. You can send more cash, or you can send a check just made to Cumberland Elementary School. There's also myschoolbucks.com. There's an app, or you can go on the website, and this is what I personally do for my kids. You can add money on there from a checking account or your debit card or whatever, and it is safe, it is secure. You can add money on there, or sometimes I'll just write a check and put it in there, but I can check their amount through this app. And let's say that you put $50 on there, and this school year your child only ends up spending 20 of it. So they're going to have the money that's left over that will carry over to the next year. Bryce is going to the high school this year. He's got like $6 left in his account, so that will follow him to the high school. So it follows them all through school. And it will alert you when they reach a certain amount. That I think if they go below $10, it will alert you and tell you that they have X amount of money left or whatever, that their account's low. Um, Eventually, your child will have a lunch number where we will send information about that home, and they're responsible for learning that lunch number themselves and typing it in on a keypad as they go through the line and get breakfast and lunch. So twice a day, they will put that number in on that keypad before they're seated. But we will send that home, and I even have a copy like of what the keypad looks like so they can actually practice it on the keypad at home. So that's a little bit about lunch accounts. And that's also for breakfast too. But there are certain items that they won't give them extra of. Like they usually won't give them extra mashed potatoes, or maybe they can't buy extra French fries. But the main thing for that day, they usually can get extra of. We have the most fabulous school nurse, Nurse Tracy. And we're very, very blessed. She is phenomenal. She's my favorite. I love her so much. And the kids absolutely love her. And she's like everybody's little Nana to them. She will have a form in their packets for you to fill out. Anytime your child goes to see Nurse Tracy, she has to pull up that form, make sure it has been filled out. She will check them, and then she has to document everything on a computer. So, if your child's telling me, oh, my belly's hurting, I'm not going to automatically take them to Nurse Tracy. Nurse Tracy stays super, super busy. I'm going to say, well, let's see how you feel, But if I think your child is really, truly sick, we will let them go to Nurse Tracy. Obviously, if they are vomiting or they're running a fever, they do not need to come to school. You have to be fever free for a full 24 hours without any medication before they can come back to school. Same thing with vomiting. They have to be free of vomiting 24 hours and diarrhea before coming back to school if they have been sick. We have a thermometer in our classroom, just the one that you scan on their head. We will use it. There have been times when I've been like, okay, my thermometer is not showing that this child's running a fever, but they feel really hot. We'll let them go to see Nurse Tracy. If they're complaining of a sore throat, sometimes I'll say, well, let's wait till after we have breakfast. Sometimes we have drainage. Let's see how you feel after breakfast before we take you to Nurse Tracy and let her check you. And then sometimes we do go ahead and take them. I'll shine my light down their throat. And if it's extremely red and their tonsils are swollen, I'll take them on and let Nurse Tracy check them out. I just don't take them every time they have a complaint, because I would live in the nurse's office if we did that. And Nurse Tracy is extremely busy, like I said, and every time a child goes up there, she has to document what they came up there for, and it's a big process. So we try not to go unless we really, really feel like your child is sick. Now, if your child takes medication daily that they will need to take here at school, you have to come in and fill out a totally separate form, and you'll have to meet with Nurse Tracy. If it's pills, she'll have to count the pills out. Even if it's an inhaler, you have to bring it to school, meet with her, fill out a form so that she can keep that inhaler in her office. There have been cases where I've had students with extreme asthma, and I will keep that inhaler in my room, but mostly she will keep that in her room. Attendance is so important. Like I said earlier, I really feel like sometimes people don't know how super important kindergarten is, but I hope by doing this slideshow, you realize that they are responsible for so much learning. It's really ridiculous what is expected of a 5-year-old, 6-year-old child. But, they really have to be at school in order to be successful. When they're absent from school, they miss out on a whole day. And sometimes like when we do skills, we learn like a sound a day for like 3 days. And then you know, if they've missed those 3 days, then they've missed those 3 sounds, and we might be spelling the word Sam out of those 3 letters and sounding out that word, and they've completely missed it. So, attendance is important. Obviously, if they're sick and are contagious, they can't come to school. But it's important that if they are able to come, that they are here. So when your child is absent from school, you need to call the front office and let Miss Tanya know, hey, so and so is sick today. They're not going to be at school. Or you can message me on Dojo. I've had parents message me at 5 o'clock in the morning and say, so and so's throwing up. They won't be there today. So it's good if we know ahead of time that they're not going to be here. Okay, it's a good thing that we know that you can contact us and let us know. If you want to contact me on Dojo, that's perfectly fine. And I really appreciate knowing if your child's sick that they're not going to be at school. Parent notes when your child returns to school, if they've not gone to the doctor, you can write a note and your child may be excused. And I have some examples there of what are excused absences. Sometimes an absence may not be excused. It just depends on the circumstances and what it is. But you do have 3 parent notes available that you can use from like August to December, 3 from like January to May. Unexcused absences is just simply you've not turned anything in when that child has been absent, pretty much. I mean, there may be some things that are considered unexcused. If your child goes to the doctor or the dentist, then you need to make sure that you get an excuse from that doctor or dentist. Even if they check out early or come in late to school because they've been to an appointment, your doctor, physician, dentist, whatever, can give them an excuse that can be turned into the office. At the bottom, you'll see about EHO days. These are educational enhancement opportunities for your child. A lot of people don't know about these days, but I make sure up front to let my parents know. We do have a form called an EHO form that you can fill out for your child if they will be absent from school, and what you're doing with them is something that could be educational. Let's say that randomly you are off on a Friday and you want to take your child to the zoo. You can fill out an EHO form for your child that you're taking them to the zoo and they're learning about animals, and it will be an excused, well, it's not really an excused absence. They're really just counted as being here, but it's an EHO day. So it doesn't even count as an absence at all if you have filled out that EHO form prior to them being absent, and it's turned in and our principal approves it. Okay, and you can find out information about that in their code of conduct books that we will be handing out during open house. So attendance is super, super important. Please make sure that your child is here. Another thing is making sure that they're here on time. We start school at 7:45. We are back in the room starting our actual learning for the day, usually by 8:30. So we're doing calendar. When we get into that skills lesson, if your child is tardy and they have missed that whole entire skills lesson, then they're going to struggle maybe at centers that day because the activities that we're doing are dealing with the skill that we learned. And I've got just kind of a breakdown here about students who are habitually tardy. Like if your child's 5 minutes late, and this is a regular thing that your child is 5 minutes late every day, then they've pretty much missed 3.5 days of school or 20 lessons. So, and it just goes farther and farther on depending on how late your child is. I know sometimes things happen and you're tardy. You've overslept, or, maybe you were up sick the night before, and so you had a hard time getting up and getting your kid ready for school. I understand things happen, but try your best to make sure your child is here and on time every single morning. It is super important for them to get their day started with everybody else and being on time. It helps us during the day. It's hard whenever you've got a whole class of kids really focused on learning skills lesson, and then you have a knock on the door and it's somebody coming in late and you're having to help them get their stuff out of their backpack and put it on the bench, or go into their locker and locker doors are opening and closing and they've not had breakfast and you're trying to go get them breakfast, and then they're trying to hurry up and eat and skills lessons are going on. It's just really difficult. So just make sure, if you can, that your child is on time daily. Okay, one of the questions that I had asked when I had parents submit questions were about services. If your child previously received services at a Head Start facility or a preschool. So, throughout the school year, we may have students pulled from our class that receive services such as speech, occupational therapy. Eventually, after we get testing done for beginning of the year, some of those students may get pulled to do the Save the Children program, or they may get pulled for RTI, which is response to intervention. Your child will, when they're pulled, we meet with the people who will pull them for these services, and we just kind of work together to figure out the best time of day for those students to be pulled out of our room so that it doesn't interfere with like whole group learning, or I'm not gonna um, prefer that a student get pulled during math time or during skills time. If we're at centers, that's usually a good time for students to get pulled, and we'll look kind of at the speech teacher's schedule, so to speak, and she may pull them during center time, but I'll make sure that it's when those students are at an independent center, because I don't want them to miss out on being with myself or Miss Tina for the day. If your child has previously received speech or occupational therapy from a provider before coming to school, and they were at a preschool or some other facility prior to coming here, then their IEP for those services will follow them here. So those schools will send something to us stating that they were already receiving those services, so they will just start receiving those here automatically. As far as speech is concerned, sometimes students are coming into kindergarten who have not been tested, or they've not been anywhere previously. And sometimes I pick up on when I think students are struggling with speech sounds or things like that. And I will meet with one of our speech teachers and kind of share my thoughts about that child with them. And then that speech teacher will come and do just a really quick, short assessment with those kids. And if they also feel like there is a need for them to receive services, then they will give me an intervention log, and I will usually do some sort of speech intervention within our classroom with your child independently, me and that child one-on-one, and kind of just document things that I'm seeing or that they're doing. And then I turn that documentation into the speech teachers, and if it meets requirements, then they'll call you, set up a meeting, let you come in. It's not a bad thing. I had speech when I was a kid. I remember going to Benham Elementary, and I had to do speech because I couldn't say my R's correctly. My youngest son had to do speech. They're not in these services forever. If your child gets pulled for Save the Children, that's not a bad thing. It just means that on their beginning of the year assessments, they scored within a range that we think they possibly could be pushed a little bit with giving some extra one-on-one help to score higher in the future or the next time. If they end up getting pulled for RTI, maybe it's because we see that there's a little behind in the classroom, and Miss Sherman can come pull them during an appropriate time for them to be out of the room and just give them some extra one-on-one. All of these things, if your child were to get flagged that they need a service provided for them, it's not bad. It's just we're trying to help them get to where they need to be, and it doesn't mean that it's always going to be with them all through school. Brody started speech when he was at Head Start in town, and then he received speech through second grade, and then he tested out of it. So it doesn't mean it's going to stick with them forever. It's just that we realize that there may be some things that they need extra help on, that we have special people in the building who can pull them out, that can give them that extra little push or extra little one-on-one guidance. So don't be scared if anything like that happens. It's completely okay, and it's not terrible. It's not a horrible thing. It's actually just to help them, and it will be perfectly fine. But yes, if your child previously had something, a service they were receiving, then it will follow them here as well. So the next thing is special events. So I think Miss Fields may have posted what you're seeing on the left, and I think that she has pretty much figured up all those special days, the dress ups and whatnot. So That is just school-wide on the left, so we do participate in a lot of those things. To the right, you will see special kindergarten events that we do, and there's almost something every month that we do. Kindergarten is very, very busy with learning, but we also try to fit in some fun things in there. One of our favorite things that we've done the past 2 years with this CKLA curriculum is Farm Day. And last year we did our Royal Tea Party and Ball. That's the first year that we've done it. The kids loved it. We had a good time. They really, really loved it. Some of the things that you see that are special kindergarten event are seasonal. The things that are like Farm Day and the Royal Tea Party, those days or months that those fall in may fluctuate slightly just depending on where we are in our reading curriculum when we get to that point, but generally it falls in the months listed there. So you'll see we have lots of activities going on that are extra things that are fun for the kids to participate in. And the kindergarten special events, I will try to post that on Dojo so that you can see it and get a copy of that to send home as well. Okay, so the next slide is what does my child need? What does my child need daily for school? So honestly, all of our school supplies, we've been very, very blessed. And our school district has provided money for our resource center, our family resource center, to provide us with anything that we need as far as school supplies go. So we're really good in our room as far as utilizing what we have and taking care of things. So it's not often that we have to ask for additional things from you as far as school supplies go. Your child will need a backpack daily. They need to bring a backpack daily. We have mail daily that goes home. It just helps them carry things back, lunch boxes, snack bags, water bottles. Their backpack needs to be big enough to fit like a folder in. I'm not sending a folder home, but our papers, are an 8.5 by 11 size paper. So if they're bringing several of those home a day, it needs to be able to fit in their backpack, as well as their snack bag needs to be able to fit in there. And sometimes people will put their lunch boxes in there as well. We do ask that you send a full change of clothes for your child in a large Ziploc bag with their name on it. We will put that in their locker. We will store it in their locker in case they have a spill or an accident. So by full change of clothes, we want a shirt, we want underwear, we want socks, we want pants or shorts. When the weather starts cooling off, I will send that baggie home and you can trade it out and send a long sleeve shirt and pants instead of short sleeve and shorts. We do have a family resource center that does keep clothing on hand for accidents and things like that. Sometimes they don't have the size that we need. So if we already have that in our classroom that we can easily access, that is really, really helpful. Your child will need snack daily. Again, it is a snack. So, one food, one drink, two food items, two drinks. I don't want any more than that. They will open it all and not have time to eat it all, and it will get thrown in the garbage. So you really just need to limit how much that you send for them for snack. If they can open it themselves, that's wonderful. Your child has the option to bring breakfast. They have an option to bring a lunchbox and a spill-proof water bottle. Spill-proof water bottle. If you can open that lid and turn it upside down in your car and water comes out of it, it is not spill-proof. So a wall of cups are not spill-proof. It has to be a spill-proof water bottle. Sometimes they will drop them in the hallway. And then if it's not spill proof, you're cleaning up a puddle of water, that's taking time away from getting the kids back to the room and doing learning. So we really need spill proof water bottles. And really, I prefer that inside the water bottle, it's water or like a flavored water. Again, I don't prefer anything carbonated, especially in these bottles that are being transported to and from back and forth the cafeteria, because if they're dropped, it could be bad. So items that are greatly appreciated that they do not buy for us, although these are things that are definitely needed, they don't provide these for us. So any parents that can provide Kleenex Clorox or Lysol wipes. We're pretty good on hand sanitizer right now and flushable wipes. Sometimes I keep wipes. I'm going to pull them right here in front of I keep them right by my desk. It might be picture day and your child has had breakfast pizza. Well, they have sauce all over their mouth. So I'm going to grab these wipes and I'm going to wipe their face before I let them have a picture. Sometimes we have kids that go to the restroom and they ask for wipes. So if we have flushable wipes, that's great. Of course, the ones that I just showed you are not flushable. They're Huggies, but that's just what I keep by my desk for if we need them. If you want to send extra snacks or juice pouches for us to keep on hand in case there's ever a time when someone forgets to pack a snack, that is appreciated as well. But as of right now, as far as school supplies go, we're not asking you to send anything. We have pretty much all the things that we need. If there's ever a time we need something throughout the school year, I'll just post on Dojo, and if you're able to provide that, that's fabulous. Okay. Real quick, these are skills that a new kindergartner should have. I'm going to make a copy of this and send this home opening day, or open house, so that you can kind of see some things that we expect them to be able to do already when they come to kindergarten. Now, some of these things we realize they may still be working on and not mastered yet, but it's important that they have already been working on these skills. Just a few more things that we ask in addition to this is just putting on a jacket, being able to zip their jacket, because when it gets cold weather and we're lining up to go home, we don't care to help kids, but it's hard when all 20 kids don't know how to put their jacket or backpacks on independently, and you're literally having to put jackets and backpacks on all 20 of them. Opening lunch items. Again, we will help with that, but it's really great if they can do that by themselves, being able to close their lunchbox containers, put them back in their bag, zip them up, doing all of their restroom things independently, washing their hands independently, putting their backpack on independently. All those things are great skills to already have. I do have some important reminders. If your child is a bus rider and they're going to go to a new place today, or somebody different even is picking them up. Now, if your child rides the bus, there has to be an adult to get them from the bus. And a sibling does not count. So even like, let's say Brody was in kindergarten and Bryce was a sibling, and the bus driver let them off, but I wasn't there to pick Brody up when he was in kindergarten, they're not going to let Brody just go with Bryce. So you have to make sure, if your child is riding the bus, that there is an adult that is there to pick them up from that bus. But in any event that your child is going somewhere different, someone different is picking them up, you need to send a note to school, and it has to be signed in the office, which we can take it up and let them see it. You need to have the date, your child's name, and what their change is. They may be changing buses completely and going to grandma's house today instead of coming to your house. And make sure that you sign it and put a phone number so that we can call if there is an issue. That is very, very important for all of our bus riders, that they do this, especially if they're getting on a different bus or getting dropped off somewhere different, so the bus drivers know and we make sure that they're safe. Always make sure that your phone number that we have on file is an up-to-date number. We know that some people change phone numbers multiple times within a school year. Just always make sure we have the most up-to-date phone number. Like I said, I will always use Class Dojo to contact you first. But if it's an emergency and you don't get back with me quickly, then I need a phone number to be able to call to get a hold of you for your child. If you have any court orders regarding your child, those have to be kept on file here at school. And in the event that those change, you have to bring the updated paperwork, and we have to keep that on file as well. In the packets, you will fill out a paper stating who is allowed to pick up your child, and also if there's anybody who is not allowed. We need to know that information. And I also have white cards. I don't know where mine are at the moment. Yes, right here. I also have white cards. These are something old school that they used to do, and a lot of people do these anymore. But I like to keep these in our room with all the contacts on the back of people who is allowed to pick up your child and their phone number, so that if there's an emergency and I can't get a hold of you, I don't have to call the office for them to pull your child's paper. I don't have to send somebody to the office to go find that paper. I have their card right here, and I can get a hold of somebody if there is an emergency for your child. So make sure when you come to open house, you will get one of these white cards that it is filled out and given back to me either during open house, or you bring it back with your child on day one of kindergarten, because you never know what could happen. Please make sure that you keep your child's backpack and their lunch boxes cleaned out, and that you check them daily. If they've had a spill in their lunch or snack box, make sure that you vacuum it out, clean it out, wash it, whatever. I mean, this is a school. There are a lot of people that come in and out, so sometimes we have unwanted critters crawling around, and they're more likely going to go to some lunchbox that's got snacks spilled all out in it than one that's not. So make sure you keep lunch boxes, backpacks tidy, and that you check them daily. We may send a permission slip home, or we may send an important letter home. So make sure you go through their backpacks daily and get everything out, and then put back in anything that needs to be returned. If you ever have any questions about anything, concerns about anything, feel free to reach out to me on Class Dojo. Always during school, I will randomly just pull up Dojo and check it. I might be eating lunch, I will pull up Dojo and check it. It might be my planning, I'll pull up Dojo and check it to make sure there hasn't been a parent message me about something. While we're doing a restroom break, I will click on my messages on Dojo and check it. I do have quiet time or quiet hours set up on Class Dojo for after school when I'm home with my family, but I still will get on there from time to time and check it. I may, if you message me at 10 o'clock at night, I may already be in the bed and I might not see it until I wake up at 6 o'clock the next morning. But as soon as I see a message from you, I will respond to you as soon as I read the message. And I ask, especially during school hours, if I'm messaging you, to do good about checking it and get back with me. If it's a question, there are times when I will message you just a comment or something. You don't have to respond. But if it is a question or something then with your child that needs attention, just get back with me as soon as possible. So another thing, just an important reminder, this is kindergarten. These are 5 and 6-year-old kids. We don't always hear everything that is said between two students. We don't always see everything that happens between two students. I lead the front of the line when we're transitioning. Miss Tina will be at the back of the line. So you've got 20 students in between us. And a lot of times I'll walk backwards in the hallway because I am trying to keep an eye on our line. But there are times when I'm facing forward because I don't know, we might be going around a corner and I don't want to run into somebody. But things do happen. These are kids, and they will say things or they will do things that we don't have any control over. So just always remember, now we do try to tell the kids if somebody is doing something to you that you don't want them to do, first and foremost, I want them to take up for themselves before they just raise their hand and tattle. If somebody is poking them, I want them to look at that kid and say, hey, stop. I don't like it when you do that. Please stop. And if that kid continues to poke them, then I say, then let me or Miss Tina know, and we will handle it. And then if that kid keeps poking them, well, I'm going to say, well, you know what? Turn around and poke them back, and maybe they'll quit poking you. Because I don't like a bully in our classroom. It will not be accepted in our classroom. And we are going to get along with each other, and we're not going to have little spats and little arguments unnecessarily in our room. Sometimes I might have kids, when I'm telling them to sit at a center, arguing over a chair. I'll say rock, paper, scissors and see who gets to sit in that chair, because I don't know who touched it first. I didn't see which child put their hand on the back of that chair first. So we'll rock, paper, scissors to see who gets to sit in that chair, because we don't have assigned seats for center time. But they will have assigned morning seats and spaces on the carpet. So just be, if something happens, and a lot of times something will happen to a child that we don't see, they'll go home and tell you about it, then you feel free to message, and let me know. And make sure your child knows that it's safe to talk to me or Miss Tina if something's going on or somebody does something that's really bad. I've had kids get in a drop down argument over somebody sticking their tongue out or he's looking at me. That's things that, we can't control. But if there is something going on that we are not aware of, let us know. We are really good to keep an eye on the kids, watch them, but things happen and things can be said and done that we miss or we don't see all the time. So just be sure and tell your child to be open with us about things. If there's something going on, to talk to us and to let us know. And ask your kids about their day. Ask them what's something fun that you did today, or did you learn something new today, or did you talk to a new friend today? And they'll be excited to talk to you and tell you about school as well. Okay, so the next slide are parent questions. So I had asked during kinder camp for parents to send me questions that they might have about kindergarten, and that I was going to answer those during this slideshow. So one of the questions were, how often should we expect updates on our child's progress or areas for growth? Okay, that's and listen, all these questions are really good questions. So thank you to the parents who submitted them. Well, the school sends report cards home every 9 weeks. Okay, every 9 weeks, we are supposed to send a report card home. In kindergarten, we actually have begun, whatever the correct grammar is, developing a new report card that goes along with our Kentucky standards. With that being said, you will receive a document at the end of every 9 weeks, just kind of showing where your child is within our kindergarten exit criteria. So there's a new law that we have kindergarten exit criteria, which we developed, and I went to trainings and helped develop this exit criteria. And there are first grade exit criteria. So by the end of kindergarten, if your child has not met all the requirements for exiting kindergarten, then we will have a conversation about whether or not we're going to have your child repeat kindergarten. It's not mandatory that they repeat. It can be like, you can say, no, I don't want my child to, or I might say, well, they've got enough on board. But by the end of first grade, if they have not met first grade exit requirements, it is mandatory that they are held back. The parent does not get to say, well, I don't want my child held back. They have to be. It is the law that they have to be held back. But that's not really answering fully your question about the updates. So you will receive a document at the end of every 9 weeks. Also, when we do any type of assessment, I don't know what other teachers do, but I'm a stickler on it. Any kind of assessment that we do in our classroom dealing with our reading curriculum, our math curriculum, or our knowledge strand of our reading curriculum, I will send you pictures of that assessment. I have to keep an assessment folder on your child, so your child will have all of their assessments in a folder chronologically in order. If we take an assessment on a Tuesday, honestly, it depends on how busy I am after school, because I don't have time to grade them during the school day. It may be Friday before I get all of those assessments graded. And we may have kids that are absent and I'm waiting for them to make up that test. But normally I will send you a picture of what the questions are that we asked, or how the assessment was in the teacher manual, so you'll know like what I'm seeing. And then I will send you I'll send you individually on your class dojo a picture of your child's assessment, so that you will see, oh my gosh, they missed 6 vocabulary questions. There were only 10, so they missed 6, so that's really not the best. So you will know every time we have an assessment, within a week of them taking that assessment, I will send you pictures of their actual test so that you can see how they did. Okay. So it will be often that you will know how your child is progressing in their growth. You'll get an official thing at the end of every 9 weeks, but anytime we have an assessment or a test in between then, I will send you pictures so you will know. How can parents best support your classroom was another question. I have been very, very fortunate in my 14 years, 13 of kindergarten, of having phenomenal parents. A phenomenal classroom parent randomly just sends me a pack of Lysol wipes. I love you when you do that. A phenomenal classroom parent will message me and say, hey, can I send a special snack for the kids today? That's great. Anything that you would like to do to help be a part of this classroom as far as sending special items for the kids or whatever is great. Helping your child at home with homework, staying in the loop of what we're doing, that's really the best support that you can give a teacher, is just always being open with communication, making sure you're checking everything, knowing what's going on in the room. I will drive you all absolutely nuts on Class Dojo. One of my best friends is a coworker of mine, and when I had her daughter in kindergarten, she texted me privately and said, quit posting on Dojo because I cannot receive another notification. You're driving me crazy. But you will always know what's going on in our classroom if you are checking that dojo and keeping up with what's going on in our room, and specifically what's going on with your child behaviorally and academically. And from my standpoint, that is the best support that you can use for our classroom, is just being there and supporting and knowing what's going on with your own child. So that's my answer for that. What does a typical day look like? Hopefully, after listening to me go on and on for over an hour, you kind of have a pretty good idea of what a day in kindergarten looks like. We are busy little bees, and we work and we work and we work. We have fun sometimes while we're working. Sometimes they're not having as much fun, but I assure you, we are working and we are learning. We are learning and we are doing so much. Kindergarten is so busy. People have no idea. I mean, it's just crazy how busy we are. And they will get in a routine. We are very structured. They will know what to expect in our room. There's never a day that I come to work and have no idea what we're doing. I assure you, we are organized, we are structured, and your child is going to thrive through that structure. How do birthdays work? So we have a birthday wall. We will write your child's birthday down on our wall. If your child has a birthday that falls on a school weekday, you may bring and drop off cupcakes in the office, juices. We've had kids, parents go do Subway cookies, pizza, anything you want to do to celebrate your child's birthday during our special snack time that day. You may feel free to bring that and drop that off. Cake, cupcakes. If you do cupcakes, anything that you bring has to be store bought, sealed, whatever. So I don't know what the deal is with cupcakes right now from, I think, Food City, but they are putting icing in the bottom of the container and then setting the cupcake on top of the icing. Now, I realize the reason for this is to prevent the cupcakes from toppling over and messing up the icing. However, when you put a glob of black icing on the bottom of a cupcake and then you pass it out to 20 students and there is black cupcake icing all over your tables, it's very hard to get off. So if you are doing cupcakes, just say, can you not put the icing in the bottom, to prevent the cupcakes from falling over, because it really makes a mess. And with 20 kids in a classroom, it just makes a mess. So, and honestly, I have found that the mini cupcakes, the kids actually like them better than the big ones. I mean, if your child likes the big cupcakes, that's fine. A lot of times they get wasted and the kids don't eat them all. But as far as birthdays go, now if your child's birthday falls on a weekend or it's going to be on a day that we're not at school, then you can do it on the next closest day to their birthday. Okay, so that is how birthdays. Okay, the next question is, what are you especially excited to see my child learn this year? So many things. So when kids come to kindergarten, they're coming from all different backgrounds. So some of them are 100% blank slate, don't even know how to hold a pencil. Some of them are coming to us in kindergarten and they are already writing their name. They already know some letter sounds and are able to sound out some words. So honestly, like for me to sit here and say one specific thing that I'm excited to see every child learn, it's kind of individually based. Last year, I had a child come to kindergarten, complete blank slate, And by about March, I was really seeing gears turning, lights coming on, things clicking. And he was reading by the end of the school year. Now, not like fluently reading, but he was reading. So for me to see that child grow so much in a short amount, we missed a lot of school for snow. I mean, I literally cried and I videoed him reading this story and I cried because I was so proud of him. So I think it really just depends on each individual child what I'm excited to see them learn. So these first couple of weeks, I am going to be learning your child and seeing their strong points, seeing where they need to grow. So that's kind of an individual thing for me. Every child that has ever came into our classroom has grown in some way, shape, form, or fashion academically. But I also am excited not just to see their academic growth, but I'm excited to see them mature and become more independent. We've had several kids in the past who have cried like August to December, and then something happens in January and they come back from Christmas break and they're ready to be here. And that makes me so proud that they're, excited about school. They're not missing mom and dad as much and they're ready to learn. So honestly, I think that really depends on the individual child, what I'm excited to see them learn. But for me, obviously, I'm a teacher. Academics are super important, but also emotional things. We've had the past couple of years some really kids that have come to us, and they're really I don't want to say like in a negative tone, but they're literally babies. And they grow so much with their confidence and their independence and things like that are really excited for me to see because they really are big boys and girls ready to move from kindergarten to go to first grade. So I think it just depends on the individual child. How can I enforce their learning at home? So that goes back to that homework. Obviously, I will be posting things that we're doing in the classroom. So anything that you can do at home, whether it's those homework pages, taking books out, just reading to them and letting them follow along with you while you're reading, asking them about their day, all those things will reinforce their learning at home. And then I also kind of already answered this question. If my child has received services from a prior setting, how do we ensure that same service will be provided here? That will follow them here. I know when kids come from KCEOC Head Start, your teachers should have given you like a folder to bring with you when you registered them for kindergarten. So Miss Fields has all of that on file. If they're coming from somewhere else like Sunshine, I'm pretty sure they send something as well. But if you see that your child was receiving a service and nothing is mentioned about that service, like within the first month or so of school, let me know and we'll make sure that we get everything lined out. But it should already kind of just follow them here. The next question: how do you help children adjust during the first few weeks? So I'm trying to learn their first name first day. Like I'll go around the room randomly and just call each person by name. I like sitting with the kids at breakfast and at lunch. Usually the first 3 days, I don't leave them in there and come do lunch by myself. I stay in the cafeteria with them and just talk to them. I really love talking to them during kinder camp, and I would go through and ask them their favorite Disney princess, their favorite superhero, their favorite color, their favorite foods. Just getting to know them, I think, really helps them adjust, and then just talking to them and letting them know information about you when it's not such a structured time. I think that helps. And just letting them know that they're doing a good job when you see them doing something good, I think that helps them adjust, making them feel comfortable with you and with their surroundings. I think all of that really helps them adjust during those first few weeks. What are some common challenges new kinders face? That is a really good question. Again, that's kind of subjective to the child. If they're coming from a prior setting where they've napped during the day, they always want to know when is rest time or when is nap time. And unfortunately, we don't have that in kindergarten. So sometimes that's a challenge. They're sleepy. Obviously, at the beginning of the school year, we're all getting back into routine of waking up early, So mornings sometimes can be challenging, just getting them awake, making sure they're staying awake, staying alert. Obviously, some of them are going to miss mommies and daddies and grandmas and papas and aunts and uncles, whoever they live with. They're missing those. They're missing siblings. If they see a sibling in the hallway, they might start crying because they miss seeing them, all throughout the day. So those are some challenges that maybe new kindergartners face. I think too, if they have been in a prior setting where they're really getting freedom to go from here to there and just play, 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 and then we get here and it's more of a structured environment, sometimes that can be a challenge. But we do really good at transitioning slow paced at the beginning. We're not expecting a whole lot of academic from them. We're just teaching them procedures and routines, especially the first 3 days, and then that carries over to the first full week of school. So I think just modeling for them a lot and just showing them what we expect and showing, like, physically me sitting at a table and me looking like Leo and explaining to them, besides just looking at a poster, like how we walk into the room, how we go to the locker. All these things are new for them. Even if they went to school before, this is a whole different set of procedures and routines. So we just try to make sure that everyone knows what's expected, and we're very, very patient with those things. But they can be challenging for some, for sure. What's one thing, I misspelled thing, I put think, you wish every parent knew before their child starts kindergarten? I wish that every parent knew how important kindergarten is. Your child is precious, and your child is learning how to be a student. And their experience in kindergarten is going to shape and mold them for the rest of their school career, whether that's through high school or through college. If you're helping them develop good habits and routines, getting them up, getting them to school on time, realizing how important attendance is, that is helping them for the rest of their life. I feel like sometimes people think, oh, well, it's just kindergarten. If he don't want to go today, he don't have to go. You know, obviously that's your choice and that's up to you, but it is super, super important that they are at school, because we are learning something new literally every single day, and we're building and building and building and building on it. So attendance is super, super important, and we want them here. Like I said earlier, obviously if they're sick, and they're running a fever and they're going to be contagious, yes, keep them at home. But when they are able, we want your child here. We want them here. We want them learning. We want them progressing. We want them growing academically, socially. So I just wish that every parent really, really, truly knew how important kindergarten is. What usually surprises parents most about kindergarten? Well, going back to how important it is and all the things that we learn. It's insane. Uh, the things that we teach these kids, in our knowledge strand, we're teaching them about the senses, and it's just not telling you our five senses. It's going into like detail of parts of the eye that allows them to see, parts of the ear that allows them to have the sense of hearing, and how all of that works together. And we talk about Native American tribes and where they lived and what they hunted and how they dressed and what type of housing they lived in. We talk about Christopher Columbus, and Miss Cameron won't mind me sharing this. Miss Cameron, student taught with us last year, and she's amazing, and I'm so proud of her. And she is doing our Cub Club this year, and she was taking her social studies praxis test last year to get her teaching degree, and she said that her being in our classroom and her listening and teaching kindergarten knowledge curriculum about Christopher Columbus helped her with passing her praxis test, because she had questions on her praxis test that we talked about in our classroom. So it's just insane what is expected of them and how much they learn and what all is thrown at them at such an early age, but they're like sponges and they just grasp it and they go on with it and they soak it all in. And I think parents, when we send things home, they can't believe the things that we're doing in our room. And the last question was, what if my child has an accident? So we talked about the importance of sending that Ziploc baggie of extra clothes to school. So if your child has an accident at school, it happens and it's perfectly fine. If it is severe, like really, really bad, we may call you. I've never called a parent to come and clean a child up because I've never had one that's super, super severe. Um, we expect them to be able to tend to bathroom things independently. But, if your child has an accident and they need help and they ask me to help them, I will help them, get cleaned up, or Miss Tina will. But we will get them cleaned up. I will notify you and let you know they've had an accident. We've got them cleaned up. We've changed their clothes, and we will put like dirty clothes in like a Food City bag, and I'll tie it up and it'll be in their backpack. So that's another reason to make sure you're cleaning those backpacks out every day, just in case. If they spill something, if they spill water on their leg and they've got a little wet spot, no, we're not going to change clothes. If they throw up on themselves, yes, we're changing clothes and we're going to ask that you come get them. But accidents happen. I'm a mom. I'm used to doing all the mom things, and I don't care to help your child get cleaned up and get changed. I'm not going to call you in unless it's something super, super severe. Like I said, I've never had to do that. But accidents do occur, and just making sure that your child has an extra change of clothes so that we can get to it quickly. The Resource Center, like I said, has clothing, but they're not always available. They may be at meetings or they may be out of your child's size. So just make sure you send that in their backpack. Okay, so I'm almost done, I promise. The next slide, these are pictures of all the things this is the exit criteria that I was talking about that you will get a copy of. So these are all the things that your child should know, reading and math, when they leave kindergarten. So these are all of our standards that we are responsible for covering and that your child should have mastered by the time that they leave kindergarten. So you will get a copy of this probably at the middle of the first 9 weeks. I'll just go ahead and send this home with you so you can kind of look over it. This is kind of the same thing as what our report card will look like. So you'll get more information on this, but it's a lot. And then kindergarten goals. So you'll also get a copy of this. I'll post this picture on Dojo so that you can look over this. These are just kind of all those goals on those papers, just kind of summarized into 16 major points. Of course, it's a little more in depth than that. But overall, these are things that your child should know when they leave kindergarten. So I think that's all that I have. I know it was very lengthy. I'm at about an hour and 30 minutes. There was one point when my child was beating on my classroom door to get in, so I had to pause and go answer the door. I probably had a few typos in there and may have fumbled in my speech just a little bit, but hopefully this has helped you get better acquainted with life of a kindergartner and all the things that we do in our room, things that are to be expected, and how important their kindergarten year is. And we're super excited to start a new year. It's kind of scary in the beginning, both for the kids and for us, because we don't really know what we're getting as far as behaviors and academics and things like that. Especially if they did not come to kinder camp is a really good thing for the kids to come and kind of just get used to school and how kindergarten runs. And it's a good thing for the teachers as well that help with that, to kind of get an idea of your child and what we have coming in. So it helps us as well. But if there's ever any time that anybody has any questions or concerns, please reach out. Dojo, like I said, is probably the quickest. You'll also get my email address. Phone calls, if you have something major, major important that needs to be discussed, you can call the school. They can transfer you to our room. However, if it's not super, super, life or death, super, super important, I ask that you just message me on Dojo about it because I don't like to take away student time to be on the phone if it's unnecessary or it's not, really, really important. Um, because we run a tight ship and we're on a schedule. So if I'm doing a small group, I have 15 minutes to work with that small group. If I'm on the phone for 5 of those minutes, then that leaves those kids with only getting 10 minutes of small group time. So, but please make sure any types of questions or concerns that you ever have, feel free to reach out to me and I will get back with you as soon as I read those. And check Dojo. You'll always know what's going on in our room as long as you're on there daily checking stuff out and checking your child's behavior on there with their Dojo reports and all those things. So if you have any more questions, like I said, reach out. And I hope this has been beneficial. I know it's been long and I'm very, very sorry. But I feel like as a parent, especially one coming in who's not familiar with kindergarten, or maybe you've not had a child in kindergarten for a while, that hopefully this has been beneficial to you. So thank you very much. Bye.